Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another Pioneer deck tech, and today we're going to be talking about the newest version of Hexproof monsters. I am very excited to share this very spicy list with you. As always, at the end of the video, let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about the deck? Is there a specific creature or enchantment that I should have put in this deck that I did not? Or do you have suggestions for upcoming videos? Just let me know in the comment section. And real quick, before we hop into it here, I have to mention that we are currently on our road to 1,000 subscribers. We're getting so close. And if you want to be part of the giveaway that's going to be happening once we hit 1,000 subscribers, you're definitely going to want to be subscribed to the channel, so that way you can be entered into the event, as well as also be notified when that giveaway comes out, because that way one of the things to be able to sign up for the giveaway is you have to be subscribed. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified as soon as that video comes out. So okay, let's go and hop into the actual deck here. Why are we building this deck? So I've played decks like this in the past where we play like bigger hexproof creatures and we put good enchantments on them. It's kind of like Bogles, except instead of playing like 1 or 2 mana creatures that have hexproof, we're playing like 2, 3, 4 mana creatures that have a hexproof, put 1 big enchantment on it, and most of the time it's just game over. But what's the actual inspiration for this deck? That card is Angelic Destiny, a new reprint from Magic Foundations. Originally was in M12, but again was reprinted. I think it was in one of the boxes you can buy for Magic Foundations. I know it's in there. But anyways, Angelic Destiny, 4 mana enchantment. Enchanted creature gets +4/+4, has flying and first strike, and is an angel in addition to its other types. And then whenever enchanted creature dies, return Angelic Destiny to its owner's hand. So definitely a sweet enchantment. If we put this on a card, spoiler alert, like a Witch Stalker or something like that, it's just going to get massive. It's got flying and first strike. It's just going to get the game over with. We maybe give it some, lifelink maybe. We have a couple cards that give lifelink. Overall, just this, I really love Angelic Destiny. I used to have one back in the day. I had it in one of my commander decks, and it was always really cool. And I'm very excited to share it in a list here today. So obviously we're playing 4 copies of Angelic Destiny, but let's go and take a look at the rest of the deck here. So let's go and talk about the creatures. Obviously most of them are going to be creatures with hexproof, but we have some other good utility creatures because after all, we are in Selesnya. So obviously, we're playing the Dorks. We're playing 4 Llanowar Elves and 4 Elvish Mystic. Really nothing to explain there. We were playing 2 copies of Skyclave Apparition. It's a Selesnya deck. I've always really liked Skyclave Apparition in a deck like this, just because you never know when you have to get, exile something. Hitting something with CMC 4 or less most of the time is just good enough. It's pretty rare when you have to hit something bigger, but overall, huge fan of Skyclave Apparition. And let's go and take a look at the rest of the creatures here, which these are all of our hexproof creatures, with the exception of Garruk's Harbinger, although it technically does have hexproof. So Basara Tower Archer, a 2/1 for green with hexproof and reach. It is our cheapest hexproof creature that we're playing. We're also playing 3 copies of Garruk's Harbinger. Hexproof from black, you would normally think, well, that's not really like that great. It's honestly being protected against Go for the Throat and Fatal Push is already pretty darn solid. I know Fatal Push is one of the most played cards in the entire format, so being able to at least be protected from that is pretty good. And then it has a really nice combat damage ability there, kind of helps us refill our hand a little bit. So definitely a huge fan of Garruk's Harbinger. And then the other hexproof creatures we were playing are 4 copies of Witch Stalker and 4 copies of one of my favorite cards, Vine Mare. Putting big enchantments on these, it's almost game over. Obviously, we'll take a look at the enchantments that we're playing in just a moment here. But, I mean, it's so strong. We put, for instance, like an Angelic Destiny on our Vine Mare. All of a sudden, it's a 9/7 with flying, first strike, hexproof, and can't be blocked by black creatures. Not that our opponent's going to be playing black flyers. But anyways, I really love the hexproof creatures in this deck. We play one of them early game. We put a really good enchantment on it. They have hexproof, so our opponent's not going to be able to interact with the creature itself, and it's just going to be so strong. So definitely a huge fan of the hexproof creatures in this package. But the next thing we have to talk about are the enchantments. What enchantments are we actually putting on our creatures that we're featuring here today? So it's these cards: 4 Sheltered by Ghost, 4 Unflinching Courage, and 1 Cartouche Strength, in addition to the 4 Angelic Destiny. Sheltered by Ghost is an absolutely crazy card. I think it was one of the best cards printed in 2024 in general. The card is just so strong. It's just an Oblivion Ring. We put it on a creature and it gets +1/+0 and has lifelink and Ward 2. Is just so strong. Obviously, the Ward 2 is not super strong with our hexproof creatures, but being able to just get +1/+0 in lifelink and put it on a creature that's not going to be easily removed is just incredibly strong. So definitely a huge fan of the Sheltered by Ghost. Unflinching Courage also is huge. Imagine this: turn 2 Witch Stalker, boom. Turn 3 Unflinching Courage. Now it's a 5/5 lifelinking trampling with hexproof and can get bigger for playing against a Dimir deck. Super duper strong. Huge fan of Unflinching Courage in this deck as well. And then we're also playing the one copy of Cartouche of Strength. I've always played it in this deck, and I'll be honest with you, I wanted to play at least one, but there was nothing else I really wanted to cut, so I'm like, okay, we're playing one copy of Cartouche of Strength then. That's perfectly fine, but definitely a huge fan of the card. It gives enchanted creature +1/+1 and trample, and we may have it fight something, which, again, is really good because we put it on a creature with Hexproof. They're not going to be able to target it. It's definitely really, really strong. So definitely a huge fan of Cartouche of Strength in this deck. And that's pretty much it, except we got to talk about the lands, at least for the main board. It's pretty simple. We're playing 23 lands in this deck. We were playing 4 copies of Razorverge Thicket, 4 copies of Temple Garden, and 3 Brushland as our main dual lands. We were also playing 4 Branchloft Pathway and 2 Restless Prairies, rounding out our dual lands. I'm slowly becoming a bigger fan of Restless Prairie in general. I think the card is really, really strong. Just, you know, being able to make a 3/3 and when it attacks, buffing all of our creatures, I think it is super duper strong. And then, rounding out our lands, we were playing 2 Lair of the Hydra, 1 Boseiju, and 1 Aganjo. And then we were also playing 1 Forest and 1 Plains. And as our spicy basic lands of the day, it's really simple. Whenever I think of enchantments, I think of Theros. Theros Beyond Death, that's why we're playing this artwork. It's pretty simple. Like, whenever I think of enchantments, it's just Theros, just because of, like, all the bestow creatures and all the heavy enchantment themes that they always seem to have in Theros. So that's why I decided to pick these specific copies of Forest and Plains. So don't go anywhere yet though. We still have to talk about our sideboard as well as some budget options for the deck. So let's go and hop into the sideboard here. Sideboarding is going to be a little bit different in terms of how I present it. Normally I just kind of give a, generic, this is kind of what we should do, but I'm going to go into specifics on why I'm actually playing the specific cards in my sideboard. But the one thing I want to mention, don't be afraid to change your sideboard up depending on what your local metagame looks like. This is kind of a combination of what the metagame looks like as well as what my local metagame looks like. So again, feel free to change the sideboard if certain cards would be better in your local metagame. So let's go and hop into it here. So we were playing 2 copies of Portable Hole, 3 Get Lost, and 3 Pick Your Poison as our removal-esque effect cards. So Portable Hole is just nice at getting rid of anything small. It's just 1 mana, so you can clean up like Llanowar Elves or, Soulscar Mages or what's the Heartfire Hero, anything small. It's just really, really good at taking care of those. Get Lost, it's just a really good white removal spell. That's why we're playing 3 copies of it. It's really enough said for that. Pick Your Poison has always been good, and with the Rakdos Demons deck going around everywhere, Pick Your Poison has been very, very important for a deck like this specifically. So that's why we're playing 3 copies of Pick Your Poison. It's just a really clean answer for a number of different good cards in the metagame. We are also playing 1 Grafdigger's Cage. It kind of double dips a little bit because it's good at hating at graveyard decks that are, trying to zombify their creatures or Arclight Phoenixes coming back into play, but it's also really good against the Collected Company decks because creature cards in libraries can't enter the battlefield. So it's really, really good against all the different Collected Company decks. Rest in Peace, simply put, it's just a really good card. It hates on the graveyard perfectly, and we're in white, so that's why we're playing 3 copies of Rest in Peace. And then rounding out our sideboard, we're playing 2 copies of Deafening Silence. It's really good against Izzet Phoenix as well as Lotus Combo, or really any, spell slinger deck. And then we're playing 1 copy of Heroic Intervention, a card that I generally don't feature very often on this channel. The reason I have it in the sideboard currently is because there's a number of players that are packing Back to Nature currently just to be able to destroy all enchantments, so we can kind of get caught in the crossfire a little bit on that. So that's why I'm playing the 1 copy of Heroic Intervention. It's just a nice, easy way to be able to protect all of our enchantments. I thought about playing Tameo Safekeeping, but I ultimately decided to just play Heroic Intervention. Other reason being, one of the only ways our opponent can really destroy our creatures is with like Wrath of God, Supreme Verdict and stuff like that. So that's why I'm playing the 1 copy of Heroic Intervention in the sideboard. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about here is the budget options for the deck, which is really simple. Play the budget dual lands. Go ahead and cut like the Shocks and, some of the expensive dual lands. You can also cut like the Boseiju and the Aganjo if you really want to as well. But just go ahead and making our land base cheaper is going to be huge for this deck. You can also swap Sheltered by Ghost. I'll be honest with you, there's not really another good option. I guess you would go up to like 4 Cartouche of, you go up to 4 Cartouche of Strength and then just go ahead and swap it into something else. But Sheltered by Ghost is absolutely insane. If you like to play Pioneer and you like playing white decks, I would bite the bullet and buy your Sheltered by Ghost. The card is so strong, not even just in Pioneer, but also in Standard as well. So if you're going to play the card, just go ahead and pick them up. But the last thing we have to talk about, the current list as it's constructed right now is only $183 US, which is really cheap. We're mostly playing a bunch of like random uncommons and a few bulk rares, as well as a bunch of, a few enchantments. That's pretty much it. It's just really, really good. So huge fan of how cheap this deck actually is, but I was able to get the budget list down to $70 US. All I did was trim some of the expensive lands, as well as a few of the sideboard cards that I'm forgetting all of a sudden. I think I swapped out the Heroic Intervention. I think that was the card that I ended up swapping out. But overall, this deck was super fun to build. I know that I've played this deck multiple times at FNM, and if you're playing against like a bunch of aggro or mid-range decks, it's going to be so good. I mean, playing a turn 2 Witch Stalker and then throwing an Unflinching Courage on it against a number of different aggro decks, it's absolutely game over. Just having a 5/5 trample, hexproof, lifelinker is just game over. So huge fan of this deck. I always have loved playing this deck in Pioneer, and I think Angelic Destiny is a very, very solid addition to this deck that I think will definitely help it in the long run. So definitely a huge fan of this deck, and let me know in the comment section below if you have a deck similar, or if you end up building this deck, just go ahead and let me know below what you think about the deck overall. So that takes us to the end of the video here. Thanks so much for watching. The deck lists are in the description below if you'd like to check them out for yourself. Don't forget to subscribe. We're almost to 1,000 subs. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Huge shout out to our channel members, Ralph, Matt, Arcadius, Ray, Gary, Sarwanoki, and Night Red 3. If you are interested in being a channel member, it's only $1 a month, and you get access to the exclusive Commander Crane Discord, as well as other features here on the channel. So, I'm Commander Crane. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope to catch you in the next one.